I had said Sunday night, no doubt that Daniel Snyder would be discussed during the owners-only session. Well, Jim Irsay did the discussion publicly. He lit the fuse before the owners-only session. So right out of the gates, the aforementioned Jeff Pash, who was implicated in the email scandal last year, shut it down, I'm told, per source with knowledge of the situation. Pash said, we're not talking about this in here. And think about it. Tanya Snyder is in the room, the representative of Daniel. Now, I guess they could ask her to leave like they did with Steve Ross at one point when they were just, oh, no, they did it with Stan Kroenke. I'm sorry. Earlier this year when they were discussing what they were going to do about
the St. Louis lawsuit,
the St. Louis settlement,
right.
And they resolved that yesterday. Stan Kroenke's paying the majority of the money. But whatever they say, you know, if you're going to have litigation, the billionaires start popping off, that all becomes discoverable, as the lawyers say. You can take depositions of the owners and say, what did they say about Daniel Snyder in the room? What did he say? What did she say? What did you say? So Jeff Pash wisely pulling the plug on any private conversation that really wouldn't stay private if there is lawsuit after lawsuit after lawsuit filed by Daniel Snyder. So that was smart. And if Jim Irsay hadn't gone off the way he had, there's a good chance he would have gone off the way he did in the room.
Right.
Instead of outside the room.
It's interesting. It is. I mean, it makes sense. And I think, you know, you said it right. I would think the league really doesn't want Daniel Snyder either. And then they're in that club that you're talking about where, yeah, we're determined to get him, but we're also determined to cross the T's and dot the I's the right way so something we say or do doesn't come back to bite us in the butt here when it comes litigation time. It does. That makes sense. It was smart by Jeff Pash. Maybe that was part of the plan here. Maybe somebody, and you know, I don't know. Again, I find Irsay,
I don't want to give him too much credit.
I know,
I don't want to give
right.
him too much credit.
I know.
Sometimes
they're smart,
it's just
sometimes
stuff happens.
Stupid, right?
Sometimes stuff just happens and
Yeah.
there's no plan.
Yeah.
It's just life unfolds. Here's what I keep going back to, though, Chris. July 1, 2021. This was masterful by the league office because July 1 is the day that they announced the punishment of the Commanders. Not Dan Snyder, of the Commanders. And it was buried at the bottom of the announcement that Snyder would be stepping aside, and there were reports and contradictions as to whether it was voluntary or involuntary and whether he could come back with the commissioner's approval or without the commissioner's approval. It's just been weird from the get-go. But July 1, it was a Thursday. The 4th fell on a Sunday. So I remember this vividly. They brushed all the evidence under the rug. They had a conference call with reporters, and they said, because we have promised anonymity to some of these former employees, we're not going to reveal any of the facts. And from the get-go, I was like, what is this?
Right.
Why you can just change names. I wrote article after article about this. All you do is change the names. The Andrew Cuomo stuff was going down right about the same time. They changed the names of the people who wanted their identities to be protected and not be subject to reprisals. So they timed it perfectly because Friday the 2nd, Saturday the 3rd, Sunday the 4th, Monday the 5th. A lot of people had Friday and or Monday off. The world didn't plug back in until Tuesday. 5 days later, hard reset in the summertime. Nobody's paying attention. It never became a thing. And it may have never become a thing but for the John Gruden emails of roughly a year ago. So I say all this, Chris, because at the time I was confused. And I still am confused. I'm confused about a lot of things. But why are they protecting this guy? Why? They don't like him. He's the least popular of all owners.
Right.
Without question.
Yeah.
I've talked to enough people in and around the league over the past 21 years to know they don't like him.
Right.
Okay?
Yep. Agreed.
So they're not protecting him for him. My first thought was they're protecting themselves against putting other owners in a situation where disgruntled employee starts making accusations, and that's the first domino, and the next thing you know, you got an investigation where it's like getting audited by the IRS. I didn't do anything wrong, but I really don't want anybody poking around in my stuff to look for something because they're going to feel compelled to find something that maybe isn't there. So none of these owners want a Beth Wilkinson, Mary Jo White investigation looking for anything because they may find something or they may think they found something when they didn't. We just don't want that. So that's what I thought at the time was the explanation. We don't want this precedent to be used against us. But then I started to realize at some point over the last year or so that they're just afraid of the guy. This was what was encapsulated by the ESPN report. They're afraid of what he will do. They're afraid of what he knows. And that's why some believe that he leaked the John Gruden emails. It's a hell of a warning shot. Whether it was just retribution because he was pissed what happened to him and he's got these, and maybe he just got a bad taste in his mouth about Jay Gruden in his time as coach, whatever. It was the showing of the sword to the rest of the league. Don't mess with me. And that's what culminated in Thursday's report from ESPN. This idea that he believes he's got some sort of protection because they're afraid of him. And that's what I keep coming back to. They're treading lightly because they know they're going to get a fight in court, and that he's going to fight dirty either in court or out of court. That's what they believe. I'm not saying he's going to. I don't want to be sued either, but I think they believe and they fear that that's what he's going to do. That is the best explanation for why they tiptoed on eggshells in July of 2021 and why they're being careful now. They know if they make this move, Chris, they're going to have one hell of a fight.
Yeah, I mean, again, I think that's why we're all tuned into this a little bit. It seems that way. Daniel Snyder, from all evidence, from all due accounts that we've seen, through his tenure, yeah, he's willing to go scorched earth. And again, you're not the only one that believes maybe or has put out there the fact that, allegedly or whatever else, whatever word you want, I don't want him suing me either, that maybe he is the one that released the Gruden emails. And definitely that's why the NFL's been tiptoeing around this. They're afraid he's going to expose people. They're afraid he's going to expose people. You've been saying that from the start. They're afraid it's going to expose them that, of course, with the Beth Wilkinson thing, they knew some of this crap was going on. So that's the other reason they didn't want to, deal with that or, put it front and center during a hot media time or when, that's why they hit it in that July 4th weekend. So I think there's a lot of things they got to be careful with here. They're trying to protect their butts from more information coming out, and they don't want to make it look like, we kind of knew some of this stuff, but we kind of just swept it under the rug.
Excellent point.
Right.
Excellent point that has kind of flashed through my brain in the past 16 months or so, that at some point someone's going to start asking the league, what did you know and when did you know it?
Right.
And why did you let this mess fester for as long as you did? And it's occurred to me, and I don't know that there's any merit to it, but Brian LaFemina, who was the president of the organization or had some big title on the business side of the Commanders and was only there like 7 or 8 months and got fired. He's been mentioned by some of these former employees as someone that they went to, someone that knew what was going on. Well, he came straight from the league office. And how crazy is it to think that once he leaves the league office and goes into the Commanders organization, known by a different name at the time, and starts seeing all this stuff and experiencing it and getting complaints from employees, you've got a group of coworkers in the league office that you used to be with all the time. How do we know there aren't emails where he says, my God, what a mess this place is? Why has nobody ever done anything about this place?
Yeah, right.
This place needs to be cleaned up. It needs to be gutted. It needs to. We need new ownership here. I can't believe this is as bad as it is. And then it still continues for a certain period of time before it all really hits the fan. So I think your instincts are right. There's an element of when are the hard questions going to be directed back to us for not taking action sooner? I think that's very important. There's another issue here that bubbled up yesterday because Lisa Banks and Deborah Katz? I think that's it. Lisa Banks and Deborah Katz, the two lawyers who represent more than 40 former Washington employees, issued a letter to Roger Goodell yesterday saying, hey, we've read the ESPN 10,000-word article, and there's something in there about Dan Snyder having a list of the names of enemies that he has, and apparently he's gotten the names of the employees who cooperated with Beth Wilkinson's investigation, even though that was supposed to be all secret. And now we know why people had private investigators showing up at their houses after they spoke to Beth Wilkinson. So the ultimate irony here, Chris, would be the NFL insisting on not making any of this information public, waving this flag of we're protecting the privacy of the individual employees, and the truth being, if this is the truth, that somehow the names got back to Daniel Snyder and he still retaliated against them anyway. That's the accusation, and these lawyers are threatening suit against the league for failing to honor their promise to protect these employees if it's true that the names were somehow provided to Daniel Snyder through the league as to who cooperated with the Wilkinson investigation. I mean, if that's true,
do you think the
how
league
despicable is that?
Well, that's where I want to go. Is the league that stupid? Like, if they are, then I don't know. I got to reevaluate my whole thought of the Shield. If they gave the names to Daniel Snyder, I mean, that's where I would just be like, what? Okay, wait, we got issues here. We're not very smart. We're not as buttoned up as I thought. I mean, yeah, that's crazy. That is absolutely crazy. I mean, I would like to think that didn't happen, and I'd like to think that if Daniel Snyder did get the names, it's because he's a billionaire and he paid the right people to figure it out, and who knows? They followed the investigators from the NFL to these places. I mean, maybe that's what happened. But damn, I mean, if that's the case where the NFL gave the names to Daniel Snyder, well, then crap. Maybe the whole league office needs to be blown up and they got to figure out new leadership, because that would be the dumbest move ever.
That was another comment that came from the Commander's spokesman yesterday, denying anything about having the information. So there's two sides to all of this, and obviously anything that is directly or indirectly negative toward Daniel Snyder, there's going to be an aggressive response. It's just clockwork at this point. You know it's coming, and you know he's going to defend himself loudly, and it's another reminder that if you ever do make a move on him, there is going to be hell and lawyers to pay. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.